What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. I'm Mike Spider Slayer from Comic Book Corner 2.0. And of course, I have Kat by my side. And just as we started, Brant shows up right in time. Say hello, Brant.
Hello.
Just made it, and it looks like
we-
the internet is good.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So we wanted to start because we didn't want to lose the Facebook feed. So we just wasn't quite sure.
I hate that StreamYard does that. I wish they give. That's such a short amount of time. They're like 10 minutes, and then you can't change the schedule either. So it happens.
That's right. So, yes, guys, we're going to have a good show for you. I want to thank everyone for tuning into the show so early. And we will be definitely talking about our topic when it comes to the dawn of DC. Our schedule here is we're going to be talking about these comic books first. And then once we're done with these comics, then we'll dive into that topic a little bit deeper because we don't want to talk about the topic first and then kind of ruin what we thought with this week's comics when it came to the DC
No spoilers
themselves, right? So yes, but definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys have had a good comic book week. And so I guess with that being said, let's get started with the comic books. And again, thank you everyone for joining.
There's a lot this week. Next week, tomorrow, there's not as many, but there's some bigger books that come out tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. I definitely cut some books out for tomorrow.
You have to do the cut sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So let's talk about, so we're talking about DC this week. And so we're going to start it off with Birds of Prey issue number 1. That was the newest book released from Kelly Thompson, our first title written from DC Comics, right? And I don't know. I like this book. I thought this book was really good. I thought it exceeded my expectations. I thought the artwork was quite different in it, but it worked for the comic book. And I love like the 2-page spreads, the battle scenes, the fighting scenes in the book as well. And I like how Kelly Thompson introduced the team and what the motive was there. So overall, I thought it was a pretty solid book, in my opinion.
No, it was a really good start. I don't know if I met expectations. I had such high expectations, and obviously this is just like, here's the team. But I think it did a good job at showing like, here's the team, and it makes you care about these characters. I feel like a lot of team books, they just thrust you into a story, and you're like, why should I care? And it's like, no, I understand why I should care about these characters, why Black Canary put these characters together. You actually have a plot because of her sister. You get to see the ending with maps. And I like the art a lot because it reminded me a lot of early 2000s Batman, which obviously was a big era for Birds of Prey. So I think it's a really good start for the run, and Kelly Thompson doesn't let down. So I'm sure it'll get even better as the series goes on.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a really fantastic start, and the maps thing at the end is what like really hooked me. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I love that. I love that character.
Never even seen that coming, right?
No, not at all. So that was a complete surprise to me. I had seen like a headline saying there's a secret new member, and I didn't go, obviously didn't want to spoil it, so I didn't go look and see what that was. But yeah, I just wasn't expecting, of all people, it to be maps. So that was really cool. And I too love the way that the team came together. I thought it made sense. It was organic. It's solid storytelling, and the art style fits her storytelling style. It's a similar art to what we've seen in other books with
the
her.
same artist who did Hawkeye. So
yeah. So it kind of fits with her writing. It's just what I think of when I think of Kelly Thompson writing. I think of those kind of art styles and stuff. So, but yeah, I really enjoyed all the characterization here. The one scene with Cassie where she's like telling a story and they're like, you barely said anything. It's just funny stuff like that. Yeah, I really enjoyed the book.
Tevye does act, or at least doesn't understand why Harley Quinn's on the team. I actually thought, I was a little worried about Harley too, because it's like, she's usually a Suicide Squad member. Obviously with James Tynion run, she's been a little bit more with the Bat family, but I thought Kelly Thompson did a great job at introducing her and why she would be on the team. Gave literally an explanation saying, well, she does things that you wouldn't expect, like even Cassandra. who's such a good fighter. Like when she's fighting Harley, she's like, I didn't know she was gonna do that. So yeah, I thought Harley fit right in.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I thought that they explained that pretty well in the book. Um, and it was, Castle was like, she almost beat me. I mean, who could you, if she can beat me, why not?
Right. Yeah. It was a good book, man. I liked it. I didn't have high expectations from
Hmm.
it. You guys knew that because it wasn't on my most anticipated. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I just didn't know what to expect. But when I did talk about it, I really enjoyed it. Definitely looking forward to issue 2. And I like how there's a twist, and um, I like when those things aren't spoiled. So I'm excited for the next one. So, all right. So let's move on to the Amazing Spider-Man issue 33. So we're going to go from DC to Marvel here, and this book was actually really, really good. I had a fun time reading it. It was super dark. I love how it's coming off of issue number 32, where we wind up getting Peter stabbed from that spear from Craven the Hunter. He's got this sins injected into him at this point, and everything that's maybe darker inside of Peter can no longer be controlled. He's let loose. He's going after Craven, and now he's the hunter, and Craven is the prey. And I love how it's a role reversal of everything. And I love how you saw Craven get like poisoned, and he put this fear in him, and it was very much almost like a horror comic in very many ways. Super dark. I mean, he put him in the ground. He threw his rifle in there. I mean, just a solid story. It was very much a page turner. I was so into it the whole time, and I was like, man, this is great, and I can't wait for the next issue here. Very much a book that I thought that Zeb Wells couldn't ever write, and he wrote this, and this was great with that Patrick Gleason artwork. It just reiterates that when you have the right artist for the right story, it just does wonders, man.
Oh yeah, no, the art really made this issue. I like the last issue a tad more, but I really like this one because it was more of a horror issue. It's more like you said, it was Peter stalking Craven, and that was most of the story. I wish there was maybe a little bit more inner monologue from Peter. I think that was the only thing that was missing, and I think Craven repeated a lot of the same things over and over again. I think it was about his dad, especially. I don't remember now because it's been like a week since we read it, but I remember him saying one line in particular over and over again. Like, okay, we get it, But I liked it, like you said, like the art was really good for it. And when you have something that's so much more of a visual story, you
Yeah.
got to have solid art. And I think this is the best Spider-Man's been in this whole run, honestly.
Oh,
And it
by far.
yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
literally no comparison because everything else has been below 3 stars for me, probably. Tevye honestly brings an interesting point. He said, like, "Oh, well, you know, he didn't like it because Mary Jane wasn't in it." But as we said, and I think in our last topic or the topic before, I think
Topic
Spider-Man's been
before.
better without Mary Jane because it's like, all right, you keep forcing them not to be in a relationship. This actually worked because they weren't worrying about her. And again, I want to see Mary Jane somewhere else, and we will with the jackpot stuff. It's just like it felt nice that it was just kind of focusing on just Peter being Spider-Man.
Um, yeah, I really enjoyed this issue too, and I think I might have liked this one a little better than last issue, and I really liked the last issue. I didn't even mind the repetition. I thought that kind of showed like his confidence breaking down, him being repetitive like that.
Mhm.
So I loved the twist on it, and Spider-Man's on the hunt, and this is what it would be if Spider-Man's like this horrific villain, and just like the dark palette and everything, the reds and the dark tones and everything just kind of really sent it home. So yeah, this is definitely the best it's been. I don't have hopes that it's going to keep this level, but
Yeah.
right now I'm really enjoying the ride. So.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's not, you can't complain about it because I hear some of the like Tevye complaining, like saying that this is sucked, that this is a retread or a retelling of the story. But the thing is that it's you're seeing Peter just unhinged. You know what
Right.
I'm
And
saying? It just
evil.
Right. You're
Yeah.
just seeing him to the point of what if he never hold back? This is Spider-Man this is what he can do to you. Like this is
Yeah.
how powerful he is. So that's what it's really showcasing here, how much fear he can put in somebody when he's just not controlling himself. So
Yeah.
yes, it is kind of a retelling of that story, but just in a different way. And just like, what do you want at this point? Like, we're never happy. Like, it's just like, seriously, Tevia,
Give
this
us
is
a
a
solid
pretty good
story.
book. I mean, Mary Jane doesn't have to be in every single Spider-Man story. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's something different, a little bit different, right? It's changing the I don't know, it's changing the tone a little bit, it's cleansing the palate a little bit before we get into the next major
The gang
story
war.
arc, you know? And I think it's just a fun story to enjoy. Don't take it too seriously, right? It just have fun with it. And that's what you can do here. We got 2 more issues of it. The next one is a penultimate issue. And then we have the final issue of that. And then I think at that point, we might be going into the gang war. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this isn't going to last. He's not going to stay evil. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would be interesting, though, if they just did like this long arc where he's just like getting revenge on all his enemies.
I mean, that's
Would be fun.
superior, so you never know. I like
Yeah.
comics with Den's comment. It's like, oh, it feels very like Michael Myers. Yeah, as a fan of slashers, that's I think what I really enjoyed about this issue. I felt like I was watching a horror movie. I felt like I was watching a classic slasher film, and again, it just kind of comes in the perfect time as you get to Halloween. And I like that this is, you have something different with Peter, but it's also not like, oh, let's shake up everything and the world's over. It's like, yeah, he could be evil for a few issues, then he'll come back to being
Yeah.
whatever he's doing. And it's just it's just a different point of view for Peter. It's like this book has been spinning its wheels for so long. Like, it's just nice to have something refreshing.
Right. And Norman, I'm sure, is going to figure out something
I'm
to
sure
Yeah.
he will
to
too.
to make Peter normal again. But
Or him being evil again.
yeah, I mean, it was just nice to read a Spider-Man story that was just a fun read, and it was
Yeah.
a page turner, and I enjoyed looking at the artwork. Like that's what made it so much fun, So, all right, so let's move on and let's talk about a nice indie book here. We're on issue 2 of the Sacrificers, issue 2. I thought maybe we get a little bit more, of our questions answered here. And now I got more questions than ever because I'm just like, what are they doing with these kids? And now they drag these kids through hell. And then the next thing you wind up seeing is they're in this paradise at the end, and you get one of the ones that looks like a baby killer whale is sitting there, so going the entire time going, oh, there's going to be this paradise. You'll see what happens. And they wind up in the paradise. Now, could be false hope for all you know. And that's what I'm thinking that it is. But man, what is going on in this comic book, man? But it's so entertaining. I love it.
I love this issue. I especially like the ending of the issue. I don't think it was as strong as issue 1 though, because there's so many characters that they're trying to balance here, and it's very much a scene in this issue where you get to see them come back and forth, be like, what do we belong in this world? Like, who are we? But issue 1, I felt like I felt a little bit more from the characters because there's just so much room just to focus on the 2 characters. I still liked it. I'm very curious to see where it goes.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I kind of liking the pacing of it. It feels like long form storytelling, and I don't know if this is an ongoing or if this is a mini or whatever, but it feels like it's a deliberate pacing just to kind of keep you on the hook a little bit and just give you a little bit here and there. And I kind of like that because we don't get that enough these days. It's always get to the point, right? So books like this remind me of like the pacing of a Walking Dead or whatever. So we'll see
Rick
what
Remender
happens.
can
But
do it, if any writer can.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And I agree. Yeah.
Go ahead. No, finish.
What were you going to say? I was just
No.
going to say, I agree with you that I think it's false hope. I think it's like, they're all fearing the worst, and then they get presented this paradise, and they get their, it's like a false sense of security, and they feel safe, and then boom, the other shoe drops. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah. I just want to know where these people came from. Like, who are they and everything else? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
oh my God. How long is this an ongoing or is this a
I don't
mini
know.
series?
Let me see if it
Yeah.
says on the website Sacrificers. Let's see,
And
issue 1.
it's also interesting because like when we read the first issue, I was thinking, okay, everybody's anthropomorphic. We're gonna get all these animals, and then we get humans this issue. And it's like,
Right.
okay,
Mhm.
that threw me for a little bit. So that's interesting.
You get all species, basically.
You're right,
Yeah.
right.
Mr. Negatives, this kind of reminds me how Phantom Road has been too. And that reminds me, I feel like it's been a while since that book came
Yeah,
out.
man.
Yeah,
I'm missing
I
some
forgot that
Phantom
book
Road.
existed.
Like, I need to
See
continue
what's
that
going on.
story.
It's a good book.
Mass
That's
Panther
image
says,
for you.
Mass Panther saying, hey to everybody. So, welcome to the show.
Oh, we got
Melbourne
someone from
Short
Melbourne.
says,
Yeah.
good day from Melbourne, sticking at work, slacking at work here to see the chat. Hey, that's good. Don't get fired or nothing, but have fun. So that's cool. So yeah,
And
man, I'm excited about Sacrificers.
Mr. Negative says it's supposed to be ongoing. So there you go.
Okay, that's cool.
That makes sense with Remender. So
Black Spider says, hey. So welcome, guys. Good show so far. We will be talking about that DC stuff for the people who just joined us. We're talking about the comics first, and then we'll go into the topic. We didn't kind of want to ruin the topic and our thoughts on these comics first by talking about the topic. All right. So with that being said, let's talk about our number 5. Kat, what's your number 5?
Mine's the last issue of Silk, issue 5. It was a really solid arc slash miniseries. It's just pretty much Cindy and her brother teaming up, and then her realizing it's cool to team up with him, and she doesn't always have to protect him, and kind of dealing with the lost time she had, obviously, with the bunker. And it was just a fun story. It didn't have to be this, again, big climactic shift in the universe. It could just be two characters interacting with each other, and just seeing some sort of character development in these characters are always fun. So I think this is one of the better Marvel miniseries, because as I've always said, the Marvel miniseries, they tend not to do anything. They tend to just have very, very shallow storytelling, and I feel like Silk went past that a little bit.
Gotcha.
yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't like it as much as you did, I think, but I've liked the progression and that throughout these miniseries they've kept that kind of longer, plot going, even though she's been dealing with different stuff, and then they circled back to this story, and I like that it strengthened her relationship with her brother too a lot. So.
I stopped reading it only because it was during summer and I just fell off of it, unfortunately. So
I don't think it's something you have to be
Yeah.
like, oh my God, if you're not picking up Silk, go pick it up.
Right, right.
But,
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah,
reading it,
absolutely.
you'll probably have a fun time with it.
Yeah.
All right. And Brent, what's your number 5?
Mine is actually Masters of the Universe, Forge of Destiny, issue 1. I really enjoyed this. Like the last couple of He-Man books, I'm like, it just wasn't my thing. But this one actually gave me vibes of, classic He-Man, but a little bit updated. I enjoyed, kind of seeing him, what's his name? Prince Adam. Kind of being on the outs, like getting in trouble with Tila and all this stuff for missing out, and nobody knowing he's He-Man again, and then getting framed by the end of this issue for I forget what he did, but he got framed for something that was stealing something that kind of ruined relationships between these two kingdoms. So it was a fun read. I enjoyed it. Good first issue.
I thought I was gonna pick it up, but then I was like, nah. Just because, again, I was like trying to just cut back on certain things, and it's just like one of those things where it's just like I'm all right with that.
Yeah,
so I'm glad you liked it, though.
Yeah, me too, because I was worried. It was like another
He-Man book that sucks, right?
Yeah, exactly. We'll see.
All right. Well, my number 5 is Batman. So. Okay. I enjoyed Batman. I like how we got Jimenez back on the artwork once again. I think he's a wonderful artist. I thought a lot of the fight scenes, everything in there looked good. I did like the story. I did like how Vandal Savage took over Batman's house, or Wayne Manor, or whatever it is. I thought that was kind of cool. The only thing that I was like hesitant about is like how the Bat family is just like kind of completely against Bruce. And obviously he's having issues with losing control of, Gotham. And it's like, instead of fighting him, I just felt like they could help him more. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that.
I like the action in this, so I enjoyed the fight, but maybe as time goes on, they'll realize he's going a little mad. I like this issue more than that one shot, honestly. I thought
did
this one had
too.
a little bit more of a cohesive story.
Yeah.
Like you said, the art was good. Is it a mind-blowing event? No.
No.
Not by any means, but I'm curious to see where it's gonna go.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. It didn't quite make my top 5, but yeah, I think there needs to be a little bit more depth to it than just Batman being mad at everybody. But still, I think it was a little bit. It was more solid than the one shot. I agree with that.
Because you got
and
Zdarsky that just writes this book. It wasn't
right
involved in anybody else's writing. I did like though how Batman did try to take things in his own hands, and he's kind of screwing Selina over, and she gets super frustrated. She slams the phone on the floor, breaks it, because all her work that she's been doing is kind of going down the toilet there. So I like that aspect of it, right? Like him interfering and stuff. It's kind of a little bit of that Bat family thing. It just them going against him so quickly that I was just a little bit against there. I was like, man, they're so quick to turn on him. It's just, I don't know, a little bit weird.
Yeah, some of the characters I could understand that, because some of them have had problems with him for forever, but not all of them. Yeah, it's a little quick. I can't remember if it was in this book or not. Man, I had a point and I just completely lost it. I'll come back to it if I think of it.
It'll be like an hour from now. Oh, I remember.
Be like, oh, that thing about Batman.
It is when we're off the show.
Yeah.
We also got some kind words from Masked Panther. I just want to say I'm very happy to see you guys are back. Life happens, but you guys are amazing. I always look forward to your videos, even though I do not comment much. Well, we very much are happy to be back, and thank you for your comment.
Yeah, Masked Panther's been, I know for sure, following my channel for a very long time too, and so much appreciated. Thank you for watching the show live. Of course, that's a huge dedication to anybody that is watching this show right now, because it's so late and it's the only time we can ever do it. So thank you so much. And then if you watch it post live, we appreciate that too.
I remember the point, and I think it was in this book. I remember a character saying something about these. Yeah, she might be changing the game and keeping crime down and everything, or she might be turning these into much more skilled thieves that could cause bigger problems later on, which I thought was a good point on Batman's side of it, though.
Absolutely. All right, so that was my number 5. So with that being said, we're going to move on to X-Men issue 26. So this is the one where we, at the very last page, wind up getting the I love how they introduced it though, the proposal to Emma Frost here.
I thought that was funny.
It was hilarious just to keep the ploy going. He actually gets kicked in the nuts, and he's holding that ring that keeps her undercover, and he's pretending he's proposing to her. And now I guess they have to go through with it, because if they don't, then the cover's going to get blown, right?
Yeah, this was just funny because I wasn't expecting that way for it to come about at all. I thought this was going to be like a planned thing that they were doing to to regain power and all of that stuff. But just being an accidental, oh, I'm caught with a ring, I gotta go with this. It was just, it was funny because I wasn't expecting it.
So now I gotta read the next issue of Iron Man. I was like, oh man, I'm really nice. I gotta read Iron Man now.
What did you think of the other importance of the book though, with Kate Pryde confronting Firestar, and Firestar finally giving her the lowdown of what Jean Grey did to her?
I like
Yeah, the
that the
one
most, even though I haven't been reading
did you?
X-Men. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. The only problem I had with that was surely there's like surveillance on Norcus Station and everybody heard that conversation. But that's my only issue with it. But other than that, yeah, I like that she finally got it out and that also Kitty or Kate was like as as deadly as ever. Even Emma was like, she's not going to survive that fight if she has to fight her, and she kind of showed her you turn sides. I got you anytime you even think about it and all that stuff. So I like that. I liked the way that Kingpin came into the Hellfire Club, and that explanation and how Emma's now back under his thumb, which was a callback to something way like I don't know even how many issues back that was, where we learned that Emma had previously worked for the Kingpin, and it was like the secret history kind of thing. So there was a callback to that.
Right.
So it was a lot of stuff in this book, and yeah, I thought it came together well.
This issue
Yeah.
definitely reminded me a lot of when Marauders was when I was enjoying Marauders a
When it
lot.
was good,
And obviously,
yeah.
Because
yeah,
he
I was gonna
wrote
say
it.
when it was good. Exactly, because Dugan wrote it, but it's interesting again how that shift happened. He was still writing Marauders, and some shift happened after
Yeah.
that. But it's a lot of the same players. It's most of the same
Mhm.
players, especially Emma and Kitty. They were the lead of that book, and they feel like the lead of this
Right.
book now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, fun book, man. I like this one. It's with the Fall of X. This is by far the best book. It's obviously, carrying everything that's going on. So
Yeah.
this is the one to read out of everything. So, all right. So we talked about Batman already. So let's just jump into our number 4. So Brant, what was your number 4?
Mine actually was X-Men. So
Okay. And Kat?
Mine was Batman. So.
Yours is
nice.
Batman. My number 4 was actually Birds of Prey.
Nice.
So already we've already talked about these books. So we're flying through this.
It was an interesting week in that regard. I feel like there were a lot of books, but also like the big books, where there's some good big books.
Steve said it was the lamest reason to get married.
Well, I mean, in to keep her identity secret before, like, if she didn't put the ring back on, she was gonna, and he was already caught down on his knee. I don't think it was a lame reason, but
right.
I think I think in that moment he was like, well, we can make this work. This can be something, so.
Well, so we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
that marriage, just from that way, as the reader, the marriage is not a real deal. So,
right.
All right. So let's talk about Immortal X-Men issue 15. So issue 14 had me intrigued. Issue 15, I'm not intrigued anymore. I don't care. I did not like this issue at all.
This was all of them lost in the desert with Exodus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the fake Wolverines coming out and them fighting them, and they're tested and stuff like that. And I just was like, and then they found the paradise, and I was like, okay, like,
yeah,
there was I just didn't like it.
The thing the most interesting part of this issue was the apocalypse thing, right? So that was like, okay, he's back, he's got his whatever, we'll see where that goes. But I didn't like that, like, Mother Righteous, I think is her name, that's basically where they were sent into her domain, and now she's just manipulating them all, and I didn't like that aspect of it. So it kind of makes me fear for some of these characters now, that they're not going to make it through this. But yeah, it's just, it feels like in what was it what was that event called where they went to the other place and
Ten of
had,
Swords,
like, the tournament. That thing.
Yeah.
It felt like that when they were in whatever her name's court, and it feels like a very similar situation to that. And that part of that story I didn't enjoy, so that kind of gave me these vibes, so I didn't enjoy that part here either.
See, for me, like, this doesn't really enhance the story all that much. It just, there's no characters in it that I'm like, oh man, I want to see what's going on with these with these characters, you know, like you said that
I mean,
Apocalypse is in there, but it's like, I don't know.
I like Hope a lot, but they haven't done a whole lot with her.
Right.
Even in all of this, she's just been like the key to bringing them back. But
Right.
if
It's
they
always the
do
key.
something with her, and what's that?
She's always the key for something.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's like because Exodus is here leading, it's that whole thing that she's still the Messiah and she's so important, and it's the same stuff. If they did something interesting with her in this book, I'd be more intrigued by it, I think. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I agree.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I did like Charles.
Yeah, he showed up in there real quickly, right? That's what happened there. I didn't even recognize him at first because
he has a beard.
Because he had a beard, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay. So, all right. So we talked about Immortal X-Men. So let's talk about Blue Beetle issue 1.
I'm interested to see what you guys thought because I didn't pick this up.
So I did not read the series beforehand, and I
this is
didn't
the same
know
writer.
that was kind of connected to that. And nowhere in this comic book is there a mention that this comic is tied to that. And I've been saying this for the past couple of weeks. I said this in my video today. DC needs to do recap pages like Marvel does. It's not only good for
or just make it new reader friendly, like just
it's
try
not
to
only good for
recap within your story.
Right, when things, you know, like you have an event and you haven't seen the issue for a while, it recaps what's going on for new readers. Like that stuff is really, really good. Actually, someone in my comments said today, you can even do a QR code if you wanted to. You could put a QR code, find out what happened in the last issue. It gets you to the DC website, whatever the case may be. I think that's a good idea too. But when it came to this book, I gave it a very average grade. I gave it a C because for me, I didn't know it was connected to the last series. I didn't know who these two wannabe Blue Beetles were, right? I felt like it was very disjointed in very many ways. Like they tried to fit too much in the book where they talked about these guys fighting these other people. Then there was this UFO that landed in the city, and then there's these people here where people didn't like them in their area.
It's the Horizon.
Yeah, and I felt like they were touching I felt like they were like in many ways like maybe DC was trying to hint at the illegal immigrant thing because people were, you know, against that, and so they like, oh, go back to your UFO, go back here. So I was just like,
no aliens here.
Yeah, no aliens here. So I was thinking that they were trying to touch on that. Then they try to reintroduce you to those kids that wear those cyborg suits and they're hanging out on the beach. And then you wind up getting Ted Kord, who winds up getting basically killed at the end of the issue. They just tried to do like too much. And it just was like, it just felt out of place. So I was like, so I'm very on the fence about picking up the next issue here.
Yeah. It's hard because I thought it was a fun issue. If you knew everything that was going on, it was fun. The dialogue was you know, at times comical. The art was really nice. So it's like looking at it, it's like, oh, this could be a book that I enjoy. But I agree with you. There was a whole lot going on, and if you didn't have prior knowledge to it, you were a little bit lost. They quickly introduced those two other Blue Beetle characters, Dynasties and something else.
Yeah,
like in the midst of a battle, and he's just like, "Oh, you're here," and that was it. That was your whole introduction to them. And Ted Kord like quickly referenced at the end, right before he supposedly got killed again. Oh, I fought better than you. I fought Maxwell Lord and this and that. And it's like, so they were like really quickly foreshadowing, oh, you're going to die again. So yeah, it was a lot thrown at you. And I was confused because I knew the Horizon from Young Justice, I think, or something that I'd seen the Horizon in previously. So I recognized the name and I knew that they were like the Blue Beetle people or whatever. But that's
Probably
all the knowledge.
Young Justice then.
Yeah, that's the only knowledge I had of who they were. So I was
Right.
completely lost in all that. So,
And there's
yeah,
no
I agree. It
editor's
needs a
notes.
recap.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
editor's notes. There's none of that stuff in there.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
it's very frustrating when you just don't put that little extra detail in the book to get people to read these other things that are out there. You know, that's what you need. It's hard enough to follow comic books in very many ways, but when you don't do small things like recap pages or editor's notes or anything like that, how are you going to get
Yeah.
people to read this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And also,
The only
Spawn brings up a good point that the movie just came out, so this is going to be a lot of people's first
Yeah.
exposure to the character, and it's a shame that
Right.
they made it so not new reader friendly.
Yeah, the only recap they did was like the history of the Blue Beetles. They like showed very
Yes.
quickly in a page. They showed the original Blue Beetle and then Ted Cord and then Jaime, and then
Right.
it just went right into the battle.
Right. And I actually had one of my viewers actually told me that him and his son saw the Blue Beetle movie and they went to the comic shop to pick up that book. So never heard the outcome if they enjoyed the book. Maybe they did, which is good. I mean, if you are a younger kid and you're reading this, you have no expectations. You see fighting and action and
Exactly.
I mean, when we were just growing up reading comics, there was times where I'd be like, I don't know what's happening in this story,
you don't
but
care
it
what's
doesn't
going
matter.
on, right? But as an
Right.
older person, right, when we expect, thorough story, this is stuff that you look for a little bit,
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right. So that was some good Blue Beetle talk there. So are you happy you missed out on it, Kat, then?
Yeah, I had a feeling that's because I knew it was the same creative team. I think if it was a different creative team, I probably would have picked up the first issue because I liked the movie well enough, and I was like, oh yeah, let's see what's going on with Jaime. But I knew it was really going to be a continuation of that previous series, so yeah, it was what I expected.
Right.
I will say anybody that enjoyed the previous series definitely pick this up because I think they'll enjoy it. So
here it says it should have been a 7. Too bad this is a lot of people's first exposure to it because the other 6 issues were quite good. And you know what? You're probably right there.
I'm sure they got the sales. They got Mike to pick it up. I'm sure they got a lot of different people to pick it up because it was an issue 1.
Yeah, and that's what they do. And sometimes it's not always for the better,
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk about a number 3. So Brant, what's your number 3?
Amazing Spider-Man. I actually really, really liked it. Yeah.
Cool.
It was my number 3 as well. So.
Oh, nice.
Mine was Sacrificers. So we already talked about that.
Nice.
So moving right along, we're going to talk about Fire and Ice. Welcome to Smallville.
I already know Mike's thoughts on this one.
I know. That's why I'm
laughing.
Guys, I
don't want to talk about this, but you hated it? Wow, that's
yeah.
See, this is a difficult book. Me personally, I didn't love it, right? Because I don't know these characters. They kind of describe it in the beginning. At least there was a recap page for a book that didn't have a continuation. But I felt like you had to be really into these characters to love this book. But as a comic fan, I felt like this was really different from other books. So it's so hard to rate it because I'm like, oh, the art's really different. The vibe's really different. They're in Smallville. So I'm like, oh, I can't say I hate this book. I just don't know if the book was literally written for me. I really think it's written for such a distinct DC fan, and I don't know if that was a good choice or not.
That's not a good choice, though.
There's not a lot of Fire and Ice fans out there.
Right. Like, you're already writing a book with characters that honestly are not very popular. Now you're cutting it to the point where now you're writing the book in a certain style where you're going to narrow that audience even more. Okay. And so, I agree, the artwork fits the tone of the book. It definitely does, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the story that's presented to you is just they're moving to Smallville. It's like, why are you moving to Smallville? And you're going to rent out this salon. And then it's like, hey, let's bring attention to Smallville by doing a YouTube video. And it's just and now we're best friends. And now we don't want to see eye to eye with each other. And I just it's so slice of life, soap opera, not even soap opera, but sitcom type of storytelling, and it just
a little bit.
And I'll agree with Kat. Like it's really maybe not for me more than anything, right? It might be for obviously there's something out there for everybody, but for a wide
For those
variety of
hardcore Fire and Ice fans.
yeah, for the wide variety of a comic book
all three
audience,
of you.
this is not it. What'd you say?
I said all three of you, Fire and Ice fans.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just like International, A, it's such an old book, and B, it was such a cult book. It's not. It's just this is such a weird move. And in another reality, I wish I loved this book because I feel like there's things about it that could have been really cool. You know, it's like, oh, they're in a new town, they're utilizing Smallville in a different way. But I honestly got really confused at certain parts where I'm like, wow, you're like throwing too much at me. Like, okay, honestly, I was questioning if they were in a relationship too. I'm like, are they romantically involved? No, I think they're just friends. Like, I was so confused. Yeah.
And then I didn't care about the friend.
Yeah.
The one that immediately is like, you know, annoyed by them and it's like
they
young
hire her.
and just calls them Karens and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then calls the robot like a vacuum cleaner. LaRon is the robot's name. And it just, I don't know. There's just so much in this book that I just disliked. I mean, I read the whole thing. I didn't even like the Superman part interactions. Like, you're totally hating on Superman. Superman is not going to be the guy that's going to go out there and completely like screw you over. That's not his intention. He's not that type of person.
At the same time,
go on.
Oh, go ahead, Kat. I was just going to say at the same time, I didn't like the fact that Superman was like playing dad and like, oh, I'm putting you girls in timeout. I didn't like that aspect of it at all.
But see, that's not him either, though.
Right.
You know, so I just think he was written incorrectly in this comic book too.
Mr. Negative even says, I believe fans of these characters didn't really like how they were portrayed, especially Fire. So they're really not pleasing anybody, I guess.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I don't know very much about Fire and Ice.
Yeah.
I learned so much in that first page. I was like, oh, she's a model? What, she's a princess? I didn't know.
Right. And so I was as soon as I opened the artwork up, I'm like, oh, this is, I don't think, going to be the story that I'm expecting, you know, because
very confused right now.
Yeah. I was just like, oh no, this is tough, man. So
I'm laughing because all of a sudden in my earbuds was, this is StreamYard, have a good show, testing your audio.
Really?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh my God!
I saw your face. I'm like, this definitely is not about Fire and Ice.
No, it just started playing so loud I couldn't hear anything else. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know how to stop it. Oh, sorry.
I hope it's done now.
What were you saying, Mike?
This is just honestly, if this is your first introduction to the characters, it's something that when I opened up the book for the first time, right, was when I was doing my comic book haul, and I'm like, oh, I don't think this is the story I'm expecting it to be.
Peter Luck brings up a good point. The Fire and Ice is also at Dynamite Comics, which is so confusing that these two books could be released at the same time and have the same name. I mean, obviously they're elements, so it's not like you can like copyright it. And this one's called Welcome to Smallville, so maybe that's how they get away with it. But it's like so weird that both those books are coming out at the same time.
Yeah. You popped up a comment earlier by Steve Kempton that not that one, but the Power Girl special is where this was set up at, and they did put that in an editor's note at some point in this book.
They did,
but none of us read that, so
no, I didn't.
I didn't know anything about that.
It was a backup story to a backup story,
right? Yeah. So that's weird. Yeah, this wasn't for me either. Honestly, there was too many aspects of it that and I'm not a fan of these characters. I don't know these characters at all either. So everything you all said was kind of how I felt about it. I didn't love it.
I wanted to like it. I wanted to really love it, you know, because the art is still kind of fun for it. So I was like, oh man, this I feel like it had potential, but there's so many books out there. It's hard to be like, oh yeah, I'm definitely getting an issue too.
That's the thing. It's like I know my reading list, and it's like this is not going to make the cut. So
right.
I don't need a whole comic book about people being hired to work at a salon and doing a grand opening for it, and basically let's sit
Only in
down
our
This would have been
and
street.
great. This would have
Martha,
been great for a webtoon.
yeah, and Ma Kent just like sitting there going, "Okay, dearies, let's sit down and let's have some pie," and it's just like that's not what I
Because all of
want
a
from
sudden
this.
Martha's Italian.
Yeah,
Let's have us some
She
pie.
is in this version. She's making
you
a
know,
pizza
I
pie,
mean, it's
actually.
so bad though. And let's give King Shark an atomic wedgie. Like,
Oh yeah, that was great.
it's like,
Let
come
go of my
on,
butt.
man. Like, that's the best. That's what best we can do in a superhero comic. Like, that's I don't know, man.
It was
So we'll
something.
see.
Maybe
We'll
they
I'm
should have
see.
made a
glad.
webtoon. DC does make so many webtoons. They have
But
the
see,
Batman
I
one.
think
Yeah.
that would be a place where this could work.
See, I
I
feel like it's
agree
too
with
slice of
that.
life
Yeah.
even for webtoon.
Really? You
Really?
think so?
Wow.
Yeah, because like slice of like with webtoon, they have slice of life books, but they have like somewhat of a premise. They'll have like, oh, this person's like a witch, or this person like
Yeah.
is gay.
Or it's
Like something.
steamy, or something. Yeah.
All right. All right. So we spent a lot of that. So let's move on. So we're gonna move on to Kill Your Darlings issue 1. So
I'm so excited to talk about this book.
this book, I like when you read
It's
the
so good.
premise of the book, you kind of can't really make it out on what it's really going to be about. And then you get
Right.
this book in your hands and you read it and you're just like, wow, I'm totally blown away. I love
It's
this
a
girl.
perfect issue 1.
Yeah, I love this
Yeah.
girl. I love her imagination. Obviously, there's some kind of connection to how it was introduced, like a little girl being burnt at the stake, and then it takes place in 1995. Uh, you love like how she goes to school and she interacts with people, which that's fine. And then she lives with her mom, who's single. She's struggling with bills and stuff like that. And the next thing you wind up seeing, she goes through some kind of crazy episode, and it looks like you don't really know, but it looks like she burns down the house. Her mom is a smoker. There were cigarettes that were lit in the ashtray, and she wakes up and she's like, wait, where's my mom? And what's happening? And you're just like dumbfounded by the whole thing. And it looks like reality, or her imagination is bleeding into reality somehow. So really, really good story. And the artwork was phenomenal in this book too.
This book does such a good job at exposition in a seamless way because you get a lot of information. You get, okay, the mom can't pay the bills. She has this friend that also kind of likes imaginary things. She also lives in this imaginary world, but then you see the blood, like you said, and something bad happened. It's just such a seamless first issue. And I honestly, like, this wasn't even on my radar. I kind of just randomly picked it up because I'm like, oh, that looks somewhat interesting. The description sounds interesting, I guess. And I love books that kind of come out of nowhere because everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, this is a great book. This is a great book. But it wasn't on anyone's radar. It wasn't like, oh, it wasn't like a James Tynion book or whatever. And it's such a phenomenal book. It's if you ever want to write comics or you want to pick up a perfect first issue, I feel like it's this. I remember reading it and just being kind of blown away by it. So, yeah, go pick it up.
Yeah, and I don't even like recognize the writers of this. I'm not
From
familiar.
what I
with
heard,
them.
this is the first time that they have written a book together.
But I
These two
think they're
guys.
related to what's his face? Stegman's imprint. So that's the only inkling I
Yeah.
have of even like how they got the image or like,
Right.
whatever.
There was a thank you to Ryan Stegman somewhere
Right.
in that.
So I think he's
yeah.
related to it some way. But yeah, these are relatively new creators.
Right.
Right, which is another great thing about this book, that you come with these unknown writers that deliver just top notch. And it's like this could go into so many different directions and you still have no idea which way this is playing. Having the burning at the stake at the beginning kind of leads you to believe there's some kind of supernatural aspect to this that's kind of coming out, and like you said, Mike, manifesting maybe from her imagination. It's a very rich story with rich characters, and they're interesting, and I talked about this in my review of this, that like the palette changes depending on the mood. Like her fairy tale land is like colorful and bright and vibrant, and she's still bright and vibrant because she's a happy child, but then everything around her is kind of dark and grim because her life around her is not that great, right? But she's just kind of, that's why she's lost in these imaginary worlds. And I just think that's so powerful. The imagery of that is so powerful. Go ahead, Kat.
No, I just want to also add, because you bring up a really good point, where one thing I think that this book does so brilliantly is like the opening of this book is that any other comic could be talking about, oh, she's a single mom, she can't pay the bills. But the way this book does it, it feels real, it feels lived in. And I think that's what this book does so well. It's like, these are things we've seen before. Yeah. But in the way it's written, like that mom is such a relatable mom. Like the scene, it's just like you get in these characters really easily.
Right. And Rose, she's so full of innocence. And so that's what makes you like her as a character. Like you would want her as your daughter. You know what I'm saying? Like you can truly see that going, oh, mommy, come play with me. And you're like, oh, sorry, honey, I'm too busy right now. And she's like, okay, let's go. And then she's like, you see her playing and coming up with all these fun things with the kingdom. And then she goes to school and she interacts with her friend and they talk about cards and stuff like that. And it's just pure young innocence until something completely dark takes her over. And it's just insane. And so as a reader, you really get attached to her and you feel for her because it looks like she's about to go through a lot here.
Well, I think we're probably going to get a time jump as well because we're starting in 1990s. I could only see that, okay, this is like chapter 1 to maybe a few chapters of what is she going to be like as an adult?
And what happened in the 1600s too.
Right.
Like that whole thing was connected to it.
Yeah. And like if her mom didn't make it out of that, it's like we're going to see what happens with her from that and how that scars her and breaks her down and all that stuff. So it's there's a lot of layers to the story, and I'm excited to see what's next.
I'm glad all three of us read it too.
Yeah, me too.
I picked up this book again just because it sounded different.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have no idea what the hell is it. Kill Your Darlings. I'm like, what the heck is that about? So so happy about it. So really, really cool book. All right. So let's move on here. We're at number 2, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So my number 2 was Spider-Man. Brant?
Cool. Mine was Birds of Prey.
Me and Brant just have the
Man,
same.
You guys probably talked. You're like,
really?
Yeah, like, all right. Yeah, no, mine's number 2 is Birds of Prey. So I think our top 3 so far. I mean, most likely our number 1's gonna be the same too. But I think most of our books are the same except 4 and 5.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Shazam issue 3.
This is an interesting book to talk about with our Dawn of DC topic, because I feel like this book, I think really it's a fine book, but I think it really lost a lot because of that break.
We'll talk about it. I think we'll talk about it more when it comes to the topic. So let's put that on the shelf for now, and as
just the issue. I don't even remember much that happened as the issue.
I don't either.
We'll talk about it like as we'll go through some of the books and we'll talk about Shazam. Yeah. So we'll just do that. So then let's move on to Spider-Gwen Annual. I didn't read it.
Nothing happened.
I didn't either.
I own it, and I didn't read it because I refuse to read this Contest of Chaos anymore.
If it's Contest of Chaos, I've just been ignoring it, so this doesn't exist to me.
I literally just read it because Spider-Gwen's in it. I just like, I really like buying Spider-Gwen. I like supporting her, and I read it because like I bought it, so I was like, all right, let me read it. But it's not, you don't need to read it. Nothing happens in this book. It's fine. She's not even fighting a popular character.
I got the variant cover with her in her dance outfit, like she's actually a dancer.
Oh, that's fun.
And she's putting on point shoes. It's a gorgeous cover. So, and I really got it because obviously when my daughter dances, so I was like, I knew exactly what she was doing on the cover, so I thought it was really nice, elegant cover. So that's pretty much why
you got something out of it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So with that being said, I have a feeling that all three of us may have picked the right number one.
I think so. I think so. Honestly, it was a 5-star book for me. And I don't give 5 stars a lot. So there's no flaw in this book. Like I cannot find a flaw for you. It's a great book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kill Your Darlings, definitely number one on our list this week.
With a bullet.
Really, really good. Awesome book.
Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, do we do our topic now?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about it.
So we had a tough time. It's been a challenge getting some quality news out here.
I don't know why
you guys
What's going on?
would care about, right? So we had to come to a consensus as a group and discuss, what do we want to talk about tonight? And so since there were so many new DC comics that came out this week, especially number ones and Night Terrors has ended, we wanted to go into the topic of DC and what do you guys think about, the dawn of DC as of right now? And obviously we're going to give you our thoughts on it right now as well. So curious if you guys agree with us or disagree with us, or if us three agree with each other here. So
I do want to read Serenity's comment first.
Yeah.
Really? You don't like that book that much?
Wow.
Interesting. Outside of the mystery of what's going on, Kill Your Darling did nothing for me. One thing I love about Serenity, and genuinely I'm saying what I love about Serenity, is that we always have different opinions. Like I think it's really cool to show, like, because Mike, Brent, and myself, we have similar tastes in storytelling, so a lot of times we'll have like a similar top 5 or a similar most anticipated, but it's cool to hear from like watchers, especially Serenity has been on the show for a long time, that just has a completely different view on comics. So it's interesting. I always say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what makes the hobby, we say it all the time, that's what makes the hobby so much fun, because everyone has different opinions and thoughts, and you can have all these cool conversations about it, So, there's some blaring obvious, comic books that you agree on that we don't like, but there's times where we disagree all the time. So,
yeah.
All right.
But going back to the Dawn of DC topic, this is such a weird event or a weird thing, because there's things I really like about it. Like I think it did rejuvenate DC in some ways. Like there's a lot of good books here. You got Birds of Prey, you have I know Green Lantern has some good momentum, you have Green Arrow. Like this is definitely the best DC's been in a while, but it's also so hard because they're almost killing this. Like a lot of people have been saying, they could kill their own darling. They killed their own darling in so many ways, because it's just like they had such a good thing going for it, but they're like, we have to make it bigger. We have this event from 2 years ago that's already made, and we gotta have to release it. And it's almost making we're 15 years or 10 years, whatever it's been since the New 52, and they're making all the same mistakes, because the New 52 in a lot of ways is similar to Dawn of DC. There's a lot of great books there, and they rejuvenated the company. And obviously Dawn of DC didn't reboot anything, but it rejuvenated things. And it's just so interesting to see how you can make the exact same mistakes over and over again.
Yeah. And the one mistake that they are making that they did not make with the New 52 was they did this thing where they were like no events for like 2 or 3 years, and they just kept all their series clean, free from all that stuff. And here, like Night Terrors mentioned here, just completely interrupt everything and throw off all the and we talked about this for weeks now, throw off all the momentum that they had in building the Dawn of DC and reintroducing characters and giving us a Green Arrow, and yeah, it's been really hard to get into it because of that.
Yeah,
or remember it.
So going back to Shazam,
remember it,
right?
Yeah.
So you want to talk about a momentum killer? I felt like Shazam was a huge, that Night Terrors was huge momentum killer, because it feels like it's a much more intricate like story of what's going on here. And when I was reading issue 3, I had no freaking clue what the hell I was
I don't
reading.
remember what happened last issue. That was a big problem. And then also what was a real struggle with this issue of Shazam is that it timed itself so badly, because it was an issue 3 kind of slump in a way, where they're like, oh, let's get to point A to point B. This is how Billy's feeling. And I'm like, oh no, don't do that after Night Terrors, because I don't remember anything. And now I feel like nothing's happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's like as I'm reading this, I'm like trying to remember what's going on, and then as they're like showing all the gods and everything, and then I vaguely remembered, oh yeah, he's been out of control. Like, yeah, that happened. So yeah, it kind of got interrupted at a really hard place that was just like completely in the middle of an arc. Which they
Right.
all did. Like Green Lantern did too, and so did
Green
Green Arrow.
Lantern,
So
I'm pretty sure a plane was crashing in the end of that
yeah,
issue.
yeah. Then it was like Night Terrors was next. I was like, what? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so let's okay, well, let's talk about like a couple of the books. So obviously you got Batman now returning with the Gotham War, right? So after we've read a couple issues of the Gotham War, what is your overall consensus of that? What do you think of that? You think it has potential? You think it can get better? Or do you think it's a mistake crossing over with Catwoman?
My
What do you
honest
think?
opinion is it's fine, right? It's not bad, but it's not great.
Is it
Yeah.
necessary?
n- I mean, it's different. It could be very interesting. It's an interesting premise. I'll give it that. Forcing readers to pick up Catwoman when they're not reading it, which I think is the point of it, is
Yeah.
to get people to pick up Catwoman. I think that does a little bit of a disservice, and people are only going to get half the story if they don't buy that.
Right.
So I think that's a little frustrating, but I do think it has promise. Whether it'll deliver or not, I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's definitely the struggle with this is like it has
Yeah,
such promise because like these characters, this has been kind of building since Tom King's run, right? Like you
yeah,
had the whole Batman Catwoman marriage fell apart, they separated for years, and now it's like they're finally getting together. What does that look like? But it goes back to like let's go to kill your darlings for a second. Like every sentence, every moment felt like it was necessary. Batman and Catwoman, it kind of it's been spinning its wheels. Like there's like, oh yeah, there might be something there, I guess. But it's almost like the reader has to put that together, be like, oh yeah, I could see that, but it's not on the page of what's actually
yeah.
could be interesting.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So I'm gonna go through some of these comics, and
Yeah,
you
no, that'd be
guys,
fun. Yeah.
yeah. So because I'm on League of Comic Geeks right now, so the next one that came out from at 9/6, this was this past current comic book week. That's on my list here is Poison Ivy. Any of you guys read Poison Ivy?
No, but that's a book that I know has a loyal fan base. Like
Loyal
people who
fan
are
base.
loyal
It's
cover fan base.
yes,
Yeah. Loyal
yes.
cover fan base.
There
Well,
you go.
I'll even give the G Willow Wilson crowd though, because I'm sure there's a lot of cover buys, and that's why it's doing really well. But I do think there's a lot of people that just like G Willow Wilson and Poison Ivy as a whole, which is why like all three of those things is the reason why that book's doing so well.
I
Mhm.
No, I was just gonna say I read the first 6 issues. After that, I've been just buying it for the covers. They put out gorgeous covers every single issue, and I can't help myself.
Tavia
So,
says, "Does anyone care about Poison Ivy as a character?" Yeah.
yeah,
I think she's a cool character. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I think people really care about Poison Ivy.
Oh, I need to. What do you guys think? Because this was brought up in the comic too. What do you guys think about Batman's hand? The whole prosthetic
Oh
hand.
man, honestly, I could care less. I just that
Is it a
whole
Luke
arc
mistake?
I think
Skywalker moment.
fell through.
Uh, yeah,
Is it a mistake though?
They haven't done anything with it to be a mistake. It's just kind of there.
He's like, I'm a robot hand now. Like, I don't know. It's weird. All
I
right, let's
mean,
see what
it
else is going to
depends.
get pulled up here. So
Or,
we did talk about
what are you gonna
Shazam.
say, Brent, about the hand?
It's I was gonna say it depends on like which future version of Batman exists, because maybe it means nothing at all. So it's like Thor's arm.
True. Honestly,
Right.
or yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, and then you got your other titles like don't have that banner on it. So you got Justice Society of America,
Yeah,
which
that's not related at all.
yeah,
But
concluded.
that took a turn though. Like they ended that Huntress arc, and now it's like more classic JSA stuff. So it's a completely different
But it's
vibe
also
starting with
really
that
connected
issue.
to Stargirl. Like it's
Yes.
very connected to Stargirl. So if you haven't read Stargirl, I
Yeah.
feel like you'd be kind of lost with that book.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Right. We talked about Blue Beetle. Peacemaker is something that's been out, which is a
Outside of
mini
it,
series. What you like that one,
I loved it. It was number 6 for me.
City Boy.
They had that
Anybody?
new initiative. Yeah, they have a lot of those new characters, but I don't
Yeah.
know if they're
I read the
doing
first issue,
well.
but yeah.
We got
I didn't like the first
Steelworks.
issue. I Steelworks I think has been an okay book. Like it never hits my top 5, but I'm enjoying it as someone who enjoys Lana. I think it's like a middle tier Superman story, but it's fun. It's a fun book.
It's
Right.
also one that didn't seem to get affected by the Night
No,
Terrors.
it didn't even
So,
stop. It was during Night Terrors.
right,
They had those issues.
right. So it's an okay book. I've enjoyed it so far.
Right. And then let's see, we got Green Lantern, which we know is coming out this week. Batman and Robin, which is coming out this week, which I
We'll
know
talk
a
about
lot of you
that.
guys are looking forward to.
Which
You
is going to
got
be
the
weird though, considering what's going on with Gotham War. Like, when is this taking place? This Batman
right.
and Robin. So,
World's Finest, the Teen Titans thing. Like,
I
where's
think
that
World's
going?
Finest in general has lost steam. Teen Titans especially has lost steam. I'm reading it, but it's not one of my favorites.
yeah, I
Right.
agree.
Superman Lost. Anybody reading that one?
No, I dropped that.
No,
But
yeah.
Superman, I want to talk about because I think that was one of the biggest positives of Dawn of DC was Superman.
Yes,
I think
agree.
Joshua Williamson is doing such a good job. I remember the last issue, the annual even had story. Like this is such a good comic. I think it is DC's best comic right now. If you're looking for like a continuous serialized book, it's really good. If you're not reading Superman, it's good art. It looks like it has a purpose. It's doing stuff that is different, but also very familiar to Superman. I really like that book.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Nightwing, excuse me, not Nightwings, does have the Dawn of DC logo on it.
I don't know why, because
Yeah,
they haven't done any. Maybe the Teen Titans stuff, I guess.
maybe
That's all it is.
Yes.
It's the Teen Titans book now.
Yeah,
right.
we just had
So-
2 a month now.
But that's
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
lost steam for all 3 of us on here, right?
Yeah, that lost steam
Yeah.
years ago.
World's Finest, I will say for me, it's been an ongoing series for well before, this Dawn of DC stuff came out, and this has been really, really good.
I like it, but I don't think the last couple of arcs have been as strong as its first arc.
But they haven't been bad.
Right.
They've just been not as good. Yeah.
Teen Titans has been teetering on not enjoying, but like World's Finest is always solid.
Right.
We have the Titans book, which not really knocking my socks off, but then again, we've only had a couple of issues, and we're coming
they have a
out
whole
with
event
issue
coming
3.
out this month.
We're about to go into an event. Yeah.
So
a Beastland or whatever it is. Yeah,
right.
Like
we talked about Catwoman. Wonder Woman's getting ready to come out on the 20th. So that is a Tom King story. I don't know how many of us agree with, an Amazon being forbidden on Earth or whatever it is.
Look, I'll read it.
The Amazon Act is in effect, and now they're gonna. If you're Amazon on American soil, you're gonna get arrested here.
But is that even going to affect something like Titans with Donna? Like that's the whole point. Like that's another frustrating part of these comics in general. Is like, all right, you're gonna do that story. Donna Troy is an Amazon.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So, and then you got the Black Label stuff. That's still out. You got Hawkgirl.
Yeah, no, none of us like that first issue.
And that's a shame. I felt like that's another missed opportunity.
But look at Birds of Prey. I think Birds of Prey is a good example of characters that you don't know all of them, right? Some of them is from the what's it called? Wilds,
Yeah, Zealots from Wildcats.
Yeah.
Or
Wildcats. There's like characters that are not so familiar, and they put them on this team. You're like, cool. Now I could kind of learn about.
But she introduced them to where you're like, okay, I know how to. I know these characters at least somewhat, and now Kelly Thompson can develop these characters in this comic book.
Yeah.
So it gave you a nice introduction to them.
That character they introduced in Hawkgirl, it's like I still don't have a clue who that person is and
Galaxy?
where they come from. Yeah.
I think they're from a graphic novel. They're like
she
from
was in
stuff.
something beforehand, and that was the writer of that created her in that graphic in that.
Yeah,
novel
I just had no frame of reference for it, so it's like okay,
right, So you got the Vigil, which I know you like, Brant. So you're enjoying
it's
that.
Been a good story so far.
Right. And do we remember that Cyborg has a comic out?
No, I didn't pick up the first issues.
I forgot. Yeah.
See? So there's they're on the 3rd issue of that.
Wow.
And then you have Green Lantern War Journal that's getting ready to come out next week.
Not excited about that.
Yeah,
That's
I'm not picking that one up.
Yeah, that's nothing special right there. I think that might be it. Let me just give a quick glance. You got Detective, which is the same. Action Comics, we talked about Superman, Green Arrow.
The Flash relaunching.
All right, the Flash.
Yeah.
I'm nervous about that one. I like the last volume of Flash, but I don't know if I want to see a darker version of Flash. I mean, I'll pick up the first issue, but it doesn't seem like my cup of tea.
Harley Quinn has the Dawn of DC banner on it. I don't know what's going on in that book. I haven't read a actual Harley book in quite some time.
Me either. And also, no one's talking about it.
And then you got the Brave and the Bold still going on. They're on issue 5 of that. That's an $8
no anthology for me.
Yep. Doom Patrol.
First issue. Yeah. I'm
not
not
read the first one.
On issue
not
6.
reading Doom Patrol. I read the first issue of Doom Patrol. I didn't really like it.
You got a tie-in book getting ready to come out for Gotham War. You got Gotham War Red Hood issue 1. That's getting ready to come out.
I'll pick up those type of stuff because sometimes you do get a nice little one shot being like, oh, cool. Like that didn't fit in the regular book, but it's nice that they gave this the space.
Yeah. And then we got the Tales of Titans series going on.
I actually really like Tales of Titans. It's really good. The
next one is Donna Troy.
Pick it up because honestly, even Raven surprised me. Like Raven, and they're all one shots. They're all, you don't need to read the previous one to understand the next one. Like I never like Raven, and I think they even did a solid job with her. And I'm like, oh, Donna Troy, that could be even better. And I say that, and then the Donna Troy issue is not good, but the Starfire one was really good. I very much enjoy Starfire, and I've been enjoying those issues a lot. And they're connected. They're not just like one shot. They like are connected to current stories, but in a way where it's new reader friendly and you don't need to pick up anything else, but it feels like, oh yeah, like it's not this random ass story. It's something that's going on, but you're getting a nice character story.
We got the Penguin going on. We're on issue 2 of that. I thought the first issue was actually interesting. We'll see where it goes. That's basically what I can say. Bet you guys forgot about this. Power Girl's getting ready to come out with her series.
I think I'm okay. I have heard many great things from you guys. I've never been interested in Power Girl unless she's teaming up with Huntress, but even then, I don't think that was like, whoa. I think
if it was like the old Power Girl, like the way she was in, I think before New 52,
like Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmer.
Yeah, I think
that run I liked. That was
right.
Yeah, that was the last time. Yeah.
So. And I mean, that's basically, you got the same stuff that's coming out, but that's basically it right there. So, I mean, I would say based off of our reactions, we're about 50-50 on it. And then, going into like, it was definitely a momentum killer. And I think it's got to work even harder to recapture the people after those issue 1s and 2s,
I feel
now
like
we're going into 3s.
Off. They dropped off, and why would they pick it up again? It's like Shazam's a great example. It's like, oh yeah, I like the first issue, but I'm reading so many other books. I'd rather pick up this other thing, and then they'll forget about Shazam until it goes back to issue 1 or has an event.
Yeah, especially when there's so many other like independent comic books out there that are always coming out each and every week.
Yeah, I'll just never understand the logic of launching a bunch of books and then 2 issues later being like, okay, all those are going on hiatus. It just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
I agree. Right? Especially DC, they tend to do that a lot.
Yeah.
I got a question here. Someone said not this one. Where was it? There's something about Battle Chasers. Where'd it go?
It's right above that one.
Yeah. Said, Mike, don't mean to change the topic, but have you read Battle Chasers yet? So I wound up buying the first trade, and then I got the next few issues, and I still haven't read it yet. I just haven't had a chance to catch up on it. People were telling me it's a fun series. It was a series that came out, like, I guess in the 90s, and then it like took a super long break, and then they most recently relaunched it. So I don't have a lot of time to read older stuff. Like, I buy it and then I'm like, oh, I'll get around to reading it eventually, you know?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah, no, I agree. There's never
earlier,
any time to read back issues.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
last week though, like I read, I was reading the Green Lantern, or the Yellow Core War from Green Lantern.
Mm.
I never read that. That was before I
Oh,
started
wow.
collecting Green
Yeah.
Lantern, before the New 52. I'm like, holy shit, this is really good, man. And people were telling me that was good. So
Yeah.
that's what I was reading.
No, that whole era of Green Lantern's great.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
yeah, it's phenomenal.
era of DC Comics was really good. There's a lot of things that have changed a lot, unfortunately, not all for the good. There's definitely some possibilities, some positives with DC Comics, but there's also some things that just are bringing up red flags. And it just, like Kat said earlier, you just can't make the same mistakes. You know, you got to continue to keep pumping out new books, but you got to make sure they're written right, the art is good, no stupid events interfering with stuff, and just continue to grow the brand again like it was. And I think you can get the audience back. The biggest thing, though, unfortunately, is these comics keep going up and up in price, and it makes it hard for people to collect so many
There,
books at one time.
there's also not one cohesive voice again. Like if you look at the New 52, you had Scott Snyder, I would say was the biggest, and there's a couple others. You got Jeff Johns and stuff like that. But like I feel like there's no like you could say maybe Joshua Williamson, but then they put him on all so many different books. There's not one cohesive voice there. You can maybe say Tom Taylor, but then it's like that also feels very scattered. So I think it's really hard to kind of tell who is their major player. I mean, Marvel has kind of the same problem going on right now too. I think that's just a comic book problem, honestly, currently with mainstream comics. But I think that's also something that's not the most helpful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tough. I don't think they really have. I think they have. Marvel has definitely some decent writers, but there's no, like, I feel like no
Cohesive voice.
mainstream. I want to say that they'll say Hickman is their main guy.
Sure, but
You know what I'm
he hasn't
saying?
even picked up the next. I mean, he's done Ultimate Invasions, but we're waiting for Gods, you know.
Yeah, we're waiting
And
for
he
Yeah.
God.
left for a long time. He left for like a
Right.
year.
So I don't know. I think time will tell. What's going to happen with DC, and same with Marvel in very many ways, man. Hopefully they can change things. I wish there was also just in general, just another Stan Lee or another, what's his name
A
from,
face.
yeah, just a major face to pump up these comic books. Like they don't have that anymore. Those two guys left, right? From DC, Marvel. Well, of course, Stan Lee, obviously, but they're no longer there. And you don't get anybody to fill those shoes.
It's like
And
the
no
James
one,
Gunn of comics. You should have somebody, or the Kevin Feige of comics. Like have somebody be
yeah,
like, all
Yeah.
right, we're
Just
announcing these
somebody,
big things.
yeah,
right.
here's what's coming
Somebody
out.
steering the
Let's get
ship. Yeah.
excited for this, I mean, just like, oh, here we go. That's it,
I
Yeah.
miss the days when you had those events. Like I loved when like DC was like, oh, we're gonna announce all our big books and we're gonna do like a video thing of it. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Make it like a Comic-Con. And even now in Comic-Con, they don't
Yeah.
announce anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. But yeah, so that's our DC talk, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Thank you for putting in your comments in there. You guys definitely had a lot of good things to say. Like I said, we try to highlight at least your comments on there for others to see. And so with that being said, we'll just go to Kat now for the very few news topics that we have.
Yes, we do have few, and I would like to even say important, but not too many big news pieces. But let's start with Chris Claremont celebrating Wolverine's 50th anniversary in Wolverine Magic War. I mean, Chris Claremont comes back like every year. Now he's just returning to Wolverine now.
Yeah, I just thought it was cool, and I felt like though we've gotten a Madripoor series recently, didn't we? Like A couple years
Yeah,
ago.
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know
Right.
who wrote it.
I don't either.
It's cool to see Wolverine and him write it again. So why not? Why not pick it up?
The name changes has such a good point with Todd McFarlane for Image. Like his whole he does. I mean, but
Yes,
he's also promoting his books. He's promoting Spawn, but he
he
also
is
does
promoting.
Top Cow too.
Yeah, I mean, he is promoting
No.
his books. Todd McFarlane. He just does his stuff.
He does. Is
But
he related with Top Cow too or
Silvestri's
no?
Top Cow.
yeah,
You're right. You're
Silvestri.
right.
Yeah.
yeah. But he's not only he's a good promoter, and he is a voice. Like that's what we need in Marvel and DC. And I've always said, can you imagine if the whole Image thing didn't happen and Todd McFarlane stayed at Marvel? He probably would be one of those people that would be higher up at Marvel and be that new voice for Marvel.
See, I think he would have left either way, right? Because like even if Image didn't happen, maybe that's the building blocks to the indie comics. But I think there just would have been another indie comic. I think he still would have released Spawn. I just don't know if it would
I
have been
think,
through
but
Marvel.
he could have made Spawn a Marvel character.
He would
But
have
then they
lost
would own
so
it.
much money.
Yeah.
Right. No, you're right. You're right. But I'm just saying it just in the fact to say just independent comics didn't exist. Image didn't exist. None of that really
In that
existed.
reality, yeah, no,
Yeah,
he
you
definitely
know?
would be. I
Right.
don't even know if he would be as big of a name though. I think he's a big name because of what he did for Spawn. And obviously, like, yeah, he obviously did a lot for Spider-Man. But I think like he's still a current name because of Spawn more than Spider-Man.
Well, I think he's a big name because of Spider-Man. That's really what put him
But do you
on
think
the
he's a
map.
big name in 2023 because of Spider-Man?
I think people love his Spawn stuff and they love his artwork. I do think people love his Spawn. Don't get me wrong, but I think when they look at Todd McFarlane, they look at a lot of the older stuff that he did. You know what I'm saying? Like I love like his Gunslinger Spawn, and I think his Spawn stuff is really good. And I think he's a good businessman, and I think but I just think that if I don't know if he would have the same I don't know if he would have the same, I don't know what I'm looking for in the word, recognizable
Recognition.
voice or whatever it is if he did not do Spider-Man or did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the
covers that he
platform.
did.
Yeah,
Right.
no, for sure. I agree. I think Spider-Man started it, but I think Spawn's the reason why he's still a voice, right? Because you can look back at any 90s artist that did grow. I mean, you can even look at Jim Lee. He's a big name, but he's now a big name because he's a corporate guy. Not, I mean, if you're, I'm trying to think of a 90s artist who's really, how five felt, but like a 90s artist that was really popular, and like you could be popular in that decade, but does that make you be a household name? I think you have to do other things. But what are you gonna say, Bram?
Oh, I was just gonna say Jim Lee with X-Men. Yeah, that's kind of what put him on the map.
But see, people don't talk about Jim Lee anymore. Honestly, I mean, they do. Don't get me wrong.
They do, but as a corporate guy,
he's not. Yeah, he's corporate guy. Like you don't see him interact. No. Todd separates himself from that, and he puts himself out there. Right? He's always talking. He's always selling stuff, and even though he's not attached to Marvel anymore, he'll always do signings for CGC. He'll sign the Spider-Man books. He'll do the Venom books. He still wears the Venom hat. It's his creation. You know what I'm saying? He's just always putting himself out there, and he's a great representative for his brand. And that's what makes his brand shine. And that brand is attached to Image Comics. So he will back Image Comics, of course, because he's the partner of it. You know, it's attached to it for sure. But it's always, Spawn, McFarlane Toys, stuff like that. So people
Larson's actually
about Silvestri Larson much either, which is a real shame because they don't put themselves out there. Again, McFarlane does. It's his
he's a great businessman. He's a great and I'll tell you the accent about Kirkman. Kirkman's popular in a different way. He's popular because of his TV shows. He's popular because his books make money because of the TV shows. But yeah, you have to have a brand. I think it's definitely a point. It must be hard to balance everything, being the face of a brand, doing the work, and meeting deadlines. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that's comics. Honestly, it's indie comics. I mean, Me and Brand have to do it every day too. It's
Yeah.
just like, honestly, most of my days have to do with brand building and PR than you would think writing. Like writing, obviously we have to write our books, but it's like 25% of the job.
Yeah,
It's
man.
75% of the
If not
job
more.
is, yeah, like it's
Yeah.
actually just putting yourself out there, making a brand, being on social media, blah blah blah.
And then you know,
Yeah.
you going back to Todd. Thank you, Andrew,
Thank you.
Angel, for the super chat. Really appreciate
Yeah.
it, and glad you're enjoying the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Going to Todd and putting himself out there, he did most recently a Whatnot stream. So
Yeah,
he's
what?
still
Yeah.
doing things that he's maybe never even really done before, still putting him in different platforms that he's not comfortable with,
He's
right?
been
I
on
mean,
Kickstarter, made
yeah,
millions of dollars there.
yeah, he's doing all kinds of stuff. He was selling his most recent con, I guess in his booth or whatever it is. He had these long, huge cloth posters or whatever it was. You know how much these things were selling for? Like $6 grand, $4 grand,
That's
$3
crazy.
grand. You know, he put them on auction and people were bidding on it, and then he would sign them. You know, it's just insane. So it's crazy stuff, man. With
He's a
that
great
man,
example. He's really a great example of how to make indie comics. Like he's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lady Death, those type of books.
yeah, his brand is really, really good, you know. So all right, let's keep going, I guess.
Next thing. We got new costume for Spider-Man India. Let me see if I could screen share it. Well, you guys could see it. I didn't, I forgot there was even a Spider-Man India comic. Oh, I don't even have. Let me see if I could get it. I might have put the wrong one. No, I didn't. I just clicked on the wrong thing. Okay, let's see. Now we're screen sharing. Here it is. This is the Spider-Man India costume. I mean, the art's cool.
The art's cool. It's better than his previous one, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, every Spider-Man wears sneakers now, so it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
They're just comfy, and they got little webs on the bottom.
Yeah. What's with the wrapping around his hands though? Like, is he a boxer? Like, what's happening there?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that one.
Yeah, it's cool though. It's all right. It's fine. It
looks
for
fine.
Me. There's that.
Is anyone reading
series? I read the two.
No,
I read two issues of
issue.
it, it's okay, but it's nothing like. It's nothing phenomenal. It's almost like basically Spider-Man, but obviously India. He's dealing with the lizard and things like that. So
it's very similar, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a retelling.
Tevye says that he likes the movie version more. I feel like that's what they were going off of.
I agree. I thought he was really cool in the movie.
Yeah, I like
haven't seen that one yet.
Oh, you gotta see it. But no, yeah, that's like the visuals really play for that one too. So
gotcha. I just watched The Flash. Should have watched something else.
Yeah,
you agree with me.
You started with.
Yes.
At least
that was a movie.
Yeah, it was a movie, and that's what it was.
It's one of my friend's favorite movie of the year, and I still question her.
Seriously? Wow.
She really wanted to like that movie going in, and she really likes the Batman.
I did too.
Return.
Yeah.
She just had in her mind that she was gonna like it, and I think she just stuck with it.
I really wanted to like it.
How about him going backwards in Speed Force mode? It was like,
it was,
and everything like is rewinding.
As I'm watching I looked over to Lisa. I said, they did Flash better with Quicksilver and X-Men First Class.
No, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, they did.
That looked much better. All right, let's get into the last comic news here, which is Firepower is ending. Okay, I want to talk about this. Is the biggest news piece for me because I'm like, when did it start? Like, I feel like I thought we were just kind of getting into the story.
I am not surprised at this at all. I felt like they brought it back just to end it.
Kirkman's been doing that every series now. Outcast was the same thing where he's like, you just thought like, oh, it just started, nothing happened, and then they ended it. And I'm getting frustrated with it
because
it's almost like he's trying to be clever with it. Yeah,
there's no story left to tell though. Like, how long are you gonna fight this freaking dragon that's going to be destroying Chicago? Like, there's been very little dialogue in this book, even before it took its break. Like there was nothing in there. We finally had a little bit in this most recent issue with the mom gaining that power. But besides that, there's been so little that this book has had to offer. This book, when you look at the conception of this book in that very first trade, holy cow, that blew my mind away. And those very first, issues that came out. But once that dragon entered the picture, this whole book completely changed.
I just thought they could have had arcs. I thought they could have done more with the family. I was just surprised.
Yeah, that's my thing too. It's like they could have built off that. They could have been done with the dragon by now and introduced another whole dynamic to this book with the family all having powers and kind of what happens next. A new threat comes in. They could have done so much more with this.
Or bring him back to the suburbs. Like let him have his high power in the house,
Right.
Maybe in the future there'll be a volume 2. And maybe that's what they'll do. I hope that's what they will do.
I have a feeling he had a TV show or a movie in the works and didn't work out.
Maybe. So what do we have? 4 more issues? Is that where we're at?
I still can't believe that's all as many as we have. Let me see.
Crazy.
Let me see what it's on.
Maybe 5.
It says issue 30. And that's December. Yeah, it's ends in a few months. Wow, that's crazy to me.
I mean, maybe things have changed for Robert Kirkman since we got this whole Transformers thing and maybe all that stuff going on. And
I mean, again, there's a writer's strike and a SAG strike going on too, which probably doesn't help
that's
situations.
true.
But you're right. I think Transformers and G.I. Joe, maybe he's just focusing on that. But it's weird because he's not writing those. I know he's writing the Void one, but he's not writing the other 2.
Yeah, maybe he wants to focus on that book. Who knows?
Maybe. Or he's got someone else up his sleeve. All right, moving on to the 2 media pieces. So the Boys spinoff teaser, I think is actually coming out soon. It's the last trailer. I haven't seen the Boys. I really do want to catch up someday because I know a lot of people like it. But this looks cool. I might start here. I think this.
It looked good.
One out.
Yeah. It looked good. It looked cool, and it had a different vibe, but very similar. Things. Obviously, it's in the same world and all that stuff. So. Mature and a lot of gore and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But totally different because you're focusing on younger characters, and it just had a different vibe and it looked cool. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I liked it. All right,
I didn't get a chance to watch Aquaman. I forgot.
There's
was
like
very
nothing
short.
in it. It's
really
very short. Because not really the trailer, it's the teaser. So the trailer comes out in about 2 days. But I didn't love the first Aquaman, so I'm gonna obviously see this movie, but there's nothing that I was like, whoa.
I didn't see it. I never seen it.
You never seen the first one?
You never seen the first one?
No.
Yeah, go watch it. I guess I think
it had fun moments. I thought.
Yeah. It's a distinct movie. It's very different than other comic movies, at least visually, but I don't know. Story-wise, it was just fine for me. And I don't love Aquaman in general, so
that's me too.
My friends like going to see DC movies more anyway, so I'm just like, all right, I know we'll go see that. Like we have our AMC stubs. I'm trying to get everybody to go see Marvels, and it's just me and Phil. It's like, yeah, no, I'll go see it. And everyone was like, nah.
I enjoyed the Aquaman movie, so I'll definitely see this one. Of all the DC movies, it's like, okay, at least this one's fun. So
we'll see. I'm curious to see if it's gonna be darker or more fun this movie. And obviously they had to pop out a lot of the story because of Amber Heard. So
yeah, exactly.
There's a comic there from infamous Mike Manhattan. He said, "Did you see the trailer for David Finch's new comic book movie, The Killer?"
I haven't seen the trailer, but I want to see the movie. I think it's going to be a Netflix movie, but it's going to be out on in theaters for like a week. The poster looked really cool, but I did not see the trailer. But I'll probably go see the movie.
Cool.
It looked interesting. Yeah, people are saying visually this is Canadian Mustache. Cool name. Visually, the underwater stuff was pretty cool. Yeah, that's probably that's the most memorable part of Aquaman. But we'll see. Well, that the trailer will officially come out in a few days, so we'll see what exactly they're trying to show and if it'll matter, because that's been the big question of all these DC movies recently coming out is, does it even matter? Like Blue Beetle, Blue Beetle, actually, the characters are really fun in that movie, but the plot was hollow. It was a very hollow movie. We're like, oh, these characters are really fun. Like, I hope we get to see them again, but who knows?
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
But that's actually, believe it or not, all our news pieces. So I think we are going to
Yep.
go to most anticipated.
Yeah, let's do it. Sorry, I got completely off all my screens. All right, so let's start with you, Mike, this time, because keeping with the Dawn of DC talk.
Yeah.
Your number
so
3.
I got Green Lantern issue 3. Obviously, I enjoyed the first 2 issues, and I've been waiting for this 3rd issue for a while now. And I like the artwork, and Green Lantern hasn't had a really good book in a long time. So this seemed like the most prominent or promising Green Lantern book in quite some time. So I'm definitely highly anticipating this book, and hopefully the momentum will keep, pick back up, and I'll enjoy it. That's all I can hope for,
Yeah, I'm just, all I remember is the explosion. It's been so long, I don't remember what all happened. Oh, we'll see. Hopefully it's
I remember
good,
being excited for the next issue.
Yeah.
But that's what, I don't remember. I think like Carol as a boyfriend, Hal.
Yeah, they were on the plane together, and Hal was flying.
And he's back working for her, for Fairshare again, right? Yeah, okay, cool. And then, Kat, yours is a book that I completely fell off of, which is Incredible Hulk number 4.
I just love this book. I was very shocked this is coming out again because it just came out 2 weeks ago. But I really love this book. I really enjoyed the last issue with the girl kind of teaming up with Hulk now. I love horror, and I think this is just such a fun horror book. It feels different from Immortal Hulk, but feels similar to it. I'm really enjoying the ride for this one.
Nick Klein's artwork on this is phenomenal. It just makes it feel more scary, more dark. Really gets you immersed into the story. And
very different from Thor too. It's like different from his other art.
Yeah, and I like Charlie. Charlie is the girl, the supporting character in it. So curious to see how that relationship develops as the story goes along.
I can't even remember if I liked the first issue or not.
I don't think you did. I don't think it was up to your alley. You didn't like Immortal Hulk either, though, I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's very similar to that. So if you don't like Immortal Hulk, you probably won't enjoy this run.
Okay. And then my number 3 is the Alternates number 1, which I didn't realize
I didn't even hear of that.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a Minor Threats kind of spinoff or something when I picked it, but the concept sounded really interesting, so it's got me intrigued. It's like these characters got taken from their 2D superhero world and put into a 4-dimensional real world and had to live there for a while, and now they're thrust back into their 2D superhero world and have to figure out how to adjust back to that reality after being in real reality. So I thought that was a really interesting concept and something that I'd never seen like really done. So thought I'd check it out.
Cool.
And then Mike, you got Ghost Rider. Is that thing still going on with Wolverine? Or
it ended this past issue. Yeah. I really enjoyed my comic books this current week. So it was hard for me to rank some of my books, but I really enjoyed that issue. Like I had so much fun with the conclusion to that. But this kicks off the new story. Not a new story arc, I would really say. I'm not 100% sure, but Johnny Blaze has a girlfriend in this book, and her name is Talia Road, and she has supernatural abilities as well, but they're very, very dark, right? And so you're kind of learning more about that particular character in this story, maybe like how she got these abilities, or just more of her history. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that book. So
cool. Steve mentioned Daredevil. It's not on any of our lists, and I think we're just all burned out with Daredevil.
I mean, I'm burned out of Daredevil.
Yeah.
That last arc, or that last volume, really didn't impress me. And this volume, I think, is written by the same writer who did that Miss Marvel run and that Miles Morales run, and I did not love those. So I'm like,
I am buying
I'll pick it up. Yeah, me too. I'm picking it up. I'm not anticipating it.
Right, exactly. So Kat and I have the same 1 and 2, but reverse. So we'll go with your number 1 first, Mike, which is Miles, which I'm excited for it. But yeah,
Yeah. He's doing battle against this speedster, Hightail, I think.
Hightail.
Yeah, is
Yeah,
her name.
yeah.
So, and this is what we've been wanting from Miles, right? We want new characters, and we're starting to get
Yep.
that here. And I think there's somebody else. There's another villain that's going to be introduced in this issue as
Cool.
well, too. So it looks interesting. And I mean, this is the best Miles has been in quite some time. So I think Cody Ziegler is doing a bang up job with the character right now.
Yeah, I love that he's getting his own roast gallery. That's what he's needed. So
Right.
yeah, well, that's one of the many things that he's needed, and he's getting all of those things. Okay. So yeah, mine and Kat, we both picked for our 1 and 2's Batman and Robin number 1 and Avengers Inc. number 1, but switch. So you're most anticipated about Batman and Robin, and I'm Avengers Inc. So
because Joshua Williamson for Batman and Robin, because I mean, he did such a good job with Robin, and I want to see how that continues. It's interesting. Steve also says I'm looking forward to Cole issue 2. Me too.
Yeah, of course.
It was just a tough week. There was a lot of new issue. Like it's harder to give issue 2s because it's like, oh, there's so many interesting issue 1s that are coming out. But I'm excited for the Cole for sure. But yeah, going back to Batman and Robin, I mean, I just hope it's a continuation of that last Robin series, which was great.
Yeah, and I'm just again curious where this fits into everything else going on. So
yeah, this book was the book for me that was like on my hot seat because it's like it could go two ways, right? It could go in that really good direction, or it could go in a really bad direction. And I think being that it was a book where I have no idea whether this takes place, like I'm not sure what to expect. And if it takes place in the past, okay, it takes place in the past, because I don't feel like it can take place in the current timeline, being that we have Gotham War going on, right?
I don't think they tie into it. I think they are going to tie it to the present. I really do. And I think they're going to ignore Gotham War, but we'll see, which is going to be interesting because I'm like, why ignore it? And then nothing's connected. But okay.
Exactly. Unless, I mean, Damian was obviously on Bruce's side in this,
True.
so I mean, they could spin it that way. But
you start your issue 1 in the middle of an arc is always fun.
Right. So Avengers Inc. I'm not excited about it, but I'm very curious about it. I want to see if it's good. And I like Wasp. I like Janet Van Dyne. So
it looks so different, which is why I put it on my most anticipated. It doesn't look like another Marvel book. The visuals look interesting. I like Janet, like you said, Vision's teaming up with her. It looks intriguing.
I'm picking it up. I am getting it too. So
I'm excited for what we think on that one. That's gonna be an interesting title because it could be like Fire and Ice, where that's her name. Because it's like, oh yeah, they're new characters. Let's see, and it's like, oh okay.
Yeah.
Those are all the books, so I think we're gonna wrap up the show.
Yeah. All right. So, yeah, a good show, guys. Nice DC talk. Thank you, everyone, for joining in tonight's show. And, of course, next week we will do it all over again. So, yeah, we'll do the plugs right now. So if you guys love the show, of course, give this a thumbs up, right? Much appreciated. And, of course, hit that bell so you don't miss, the notification for when this show goes live. And, of course, share it. And follow us on the social media, which Brent didn't change. He said he was going to change.
I know, I forgot.
So we got Facebook, Messenger for some reason.
Somebody give me something.
We got X/Twitter. We got Instagram, YouTube, and stuff like that. Real quick, Kat, what do you think of this new Twitter thing? Are you still on it as much as you
are? On
X
or on? I'm on it just because of like business reasons. If I was just a regular human being walking the regular human being life, I would not be on it. But like for business, it's still good. So it's not as good as it used to be. But it's so funny. I was at a show last week. Like I was doing like a con. And we had someone come up to us and he said, oh, I think I follow you guys on Instagram. And I was like, oh, that must be Phil. I'm not really on Instagram as often. And I was like, I'm on Twitter. And he's like, oh, only losers are on Twitter. And I was like, oh, I do a lot of business on there. He's like, yeah, only losers are on Twitter. Said that straight to my face. I was like, Okay.
And you should have been
Nice
like,
talking to
well,
you.
then I'm not on Twitter. I'm on X.
Right. I should that he would have called me a bigger loser if I said that. So yeah, I'm still on there.
they
All
they've
right.
changed it
So,
now. You can't retweet. You got to repost now.
oh,
So
that's
it's,
lame. Twitter was the perfect everything. I don't even want to get into it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so there you have it, guys. Thank you so much. Hopefully you'll catch us next week. Guys, have a great new comic book day, and we'll see you real soon. Take care, everyone. Good night.